Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the No $360 million Women's Prison Special Edition Town Hall. My name is Mallory Honora. I'm the co-director of Families for Justice as Healing, and we're just going to give folks about one more minute to join us here. We're so grateful for this big and beautiful meeting. Lots of work to do together, and we're incredibly grateful for our formerly incarcerated leadership who's here to talk with us tonight. In the meantime, while folks are joining, just inviting folks to check in the chat, if you will, because there's so many of us. It's a little too many to do a verbal check-in. But if you go ahead and get busy in the chat and share your name, your town, and if you would help us start brainstorming, what would you spend $360 million on if you were governor of Massachusetts? What does your community need? What does your family need? What do the women in your life need? How would you spend $360 million? Welcoming folks to share in the chat.
All right, no te vi.
And folks are continuing to join us. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here. We are so glad to be together with a brilliant and beautiful and better vision for the future in Massachusetts. We're sharing in the chat, how would you spend $360 million? And that's capital money. So don't forget that in addition to $360 million proposed for the prison, we're also talking about a state agency that has an operating budget of almost $900 million, and the current cost to incarcerate just one woman for 1 year at MCI-Framingham is $235,000 a year. And women deserve so much better than what they are getting. Lots of housing desires and dreams in the chat. Thank you for sharing those. Thank you so much to our beloved partner, Toba, recognizing that we're actually facing cuts to the bare bone basic things that our community members need. We're already facing SNAP cuts. We're already facing Medicaid cuts. Our people are already struggling and suffering. Prison construction in this particular political climate is unconscionable. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay. I really appreciate y'all sharing those ideas. Please continue to check in so that we can know who's here and who's with us and know your brilliant ideas. My name is Mallory Honora. I'm the co-director of Families for Justice as Healing. I'm just going to start with a very brief check-in. And the vast majority of our evening, I'm really, really grateful for the leadership and expertise of the sisters that are here tonight, who will be leading a panel conversation, visioning out what's going on right now in Massachusetts and what else is possible. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a little bit of an introduction. So here's the agenda. We're doing the welcome. We're doing the check-in in the chat. I'm going to do some history and context setting. We'll flip it to our beautiful panel. You'll have a chance to ask questions and get some answers. We have some action steps fleshed out and more are coming. So we're in it for the long haul. Even though the announcement is super major and destabilizing, we know this is going to be a long fight, and we hope that you'll be with us. And then we'll close out with some commitments to take action. We are Families for Justice as Healing and the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls, and our mission is to end the incarceration of women and girls, period. And actually in Massachusetts, we know that's possible. So the governor is talking about building a model prison, but we're organizing, we're fighting to make Massachusetts a model, to be the first state with absolutely no prison for women at all. That's our goal. That's always been our goal, and we continue to organize towards that. We were founded by my boss and mentor, Andrea James, and the women that she was incarcerated with at federal prison in Danbury. So if incarcerated women started our organization in prison, they were fighting for each other's well-being, fighting for each other's dignity and freedom. Andrea brought this work back to Roxbury, where we continue. And it's been over 10 years now, and we continue to be led by incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, and directly impacted women who are bringing well over a decade of local and national policy expertise, experience, and a brilliant vision for thriving communities. So for us, that means that our local leadership here in Massachusetts, that means women inside MCI-Framingham who we are in communication with on a day-to-day basis. And again, we continue to be led by incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women. And we do our work in 3 areas, and I'm just doing some context setting. In case you're new to our organization, we really want to welcome folks who are hearing about this $360 million women's prison project and concerned. We do policy and litigation work. So we do have a policy vision, and we believe that these policies and solutions must be implemented before any construction happens. We can talk about those policies a little bit tonight. The Free Hair campaign, so many of you have already been a part of this. Door knocking, canvassing, talking with thousands of people across the Commonwealth about what else is possible besides new prison construction. And the very, very heart of our work is reimagining communities. We were devastated, outraged, and angered to read that the governor put in her plan that she'll be reimagining Framingham, when we have been talking about reimagining communities, not prisons, for years, and on the ground, actually creating what different looks like and implementing solutions and trying to protect our people from the system and trying to welcome our people home. So to start us off, I just want to ground us that there is something better and different possible than prison construction, which can never be healing, and it can never make our communities whole. So we're already engaged in the work of building community-based alternatives, meeting the community's needs outside of the system, and so are other grassroots organizations, including some of the ones that y'all are leading and supporting. So we know that on the ground, our people across the state in different communities are already doing the work to protect and care for each other outside of the system, and we have to keep going. So we know what different looks like. We know alternatives are possible because they're already happening. So we do participatory defense and participatory budgeting, which is about liberating our public resources for direct democracy, where directly affected people get to decide how to spend our own dollars. We have a guaranteed basic income program, which is direct cash relief to system impacted women. We have a guaranteed basic housing program, which is rental relief, because we know housing is our members' #1 need as well. We have sisters going through this right now, just trying to find a place to live. We're growing fresh fruit in Roxbury. We engage in transformative justice work. We are dreaming about what alternative community crisis response looks like. We are about to unveil our community care van to have a place of respite in the community for folks to shower, and get material needs met. We've had a very successful paid job training course, commercial driver's license course explicitly for formerly incarcerated people. And we're on the ground every day in our neighborhood with a fully functioning community pantry and direct relief to our folks through mutual aid distribution, which looks like about $100,000 directly into people's hands last year, on top of the other components of reimagining communities. So it is possible for us to invest in alternatives to prison construction. And I just want to shout out some of our beautiful sister and sibling organizations who are with us on the call, who are also doing this kind of imaginative, generative, caretaking work outside of the system, not replicating systems of harm. So we also want to make sure that we're uplifting the fact that there are solutions to the crisis of women's incarceration in Massachusetts right now. First and foremost, pausing plans to design and build a prison, any prison, especially the $360 million women's prison, through a prison moratorium. We know that we have the oldest incarcerated population in the United States of America, and all a $360 million prison is a fancy coffin for our lifers to die in, and we absolutely refuse to let that happen. We should be freeing our elders and freeing folks who are very sick and suffering with debilitative illnesses. We're fighting for drug decriminalization, recognizing that folks who are struggling with addiction is how people become criminalized in the first place, and a key component to keeping women out of the system so we don't fill up anything that they do build or want to build. And of course, recognizing that a root cause of the incarceration of women specifically is experiencing violence themselves. So the vast majority of incarcerated women are survivors of sexual and domestic violence. It is even more shameful to propose that incarceration could ever be trauma informed when women are coming to incarceration already experiencing trauma, and being traumatized by incarceration. So these bills have all been filed. They're all active. We're fighting for all of them, and these are examples of policy change that must happen before prison construction. So We know on Monday, June 30th, Governor Healey announced her plan to do $360 million of prison construction. And that current plan, as far as we understand it, with almost no public details, is that this construction is supposed to be happening at MCI-Framingham on the campus that currently exists where women are currently incarcerated. Here are a few details about this plan before I turn it over to our sisters. First, for the history, we opposed this, and so did many of you when it was scheduled to cost $50 million. There's been zero explanation about an over 7 times increase in the cost of this prison, and there is a rich organizing history even over the past 5 years of delaying this prison process. We've leveraged legal challenges when the state illegally listed this project. The first 2 times they tried to hire HDR to design it. We asked architecture firms to withdraw. We have constantly protested HDR, the multi-billion-dollar architecture firm who's profiting off our community's pain and suffering, and we've protested them in multiple cities, by the way. This is the same company that they're working in Massachusetts. They have offices here in Boston. They're also trying to get contracts in places like Florida and Texas, where they are building jails to incarcerate people in those contexts where they are criminalizing healthcare and gender affirming care. And again, really seeing this project as connected to the type of ramping up of law enforcement and carceral infrastructure that's happening under the Trump administration. HDR is part of that and profiting from that. We filed and passed the prison moratorium in 2022. It was vetoed by Governor Baker. We filed it again. We're fighting for it again. It's a live issue right now in the legislature. We've packed 5 hearings about this and made history with incarcerated women testifying at those hearings for the first time in Massachusetts history. We've marched across the state with all of you and done countless standouts. We've phone banked and canvassed thousands of people. We've coordinated with so many of you, including faith leaders and public health professionals, to oppose this over and over again. And most importantly, we organize with women inside. So that brings me to what the governor's plan is. The first component of the governor's plan is that it's been a secret plan until now. According to the women that we talk to every day inside MCI-Framingham, the only way that incarcerated women found out about this governor's plan is because we emailed the announcement into Framingham. Incarcerated women were not engaged. They were not even informed, which is incredibly, there's no words for the failure of that process to include the most directly affected people. No one knew, including all of you as taxpayers. Legislators were surprised, and there's still no public information about the timeline for the project or whether or not the money has been authorized by the legislature or the spending plan in general. The governor is proposing that this will be a smaller prison, which is misleading because the current capacity of the prison is 661. And this is actually a relatively high daily count of 231 women. Last year, the average daily population was 211 women. So is this prison going to be built for 400 women, doubling the amount of people, the bed capacity of the current number of people in there? Is it going to be 500? Is it going to be 350? And what is the reason for those numbers? How are they calculating that when they've never done an assessment of who can come home from Framingham right now? It's also misleading to say that the prison is going to shrink in square footage. It's a massive campus with some buildings that are shuttered and not habitable right now on the campus. So we have no information about what they mean logistically when they're talking about downsizing. And at no point in this process have they ever been clear about a bed count, at the very least, a cell count. I'm forcing myself to say bed count makes it sound like they're building a hotel, and they're not. They're building a prison. The plan is supposed to be it's supposed to be for a renovation. And we think that because with the $360 million price tag, we're actually talking about massive reconstruction of multiple buildings at Framingham that will take years. It also sounds like they're intending to build at least one new structure, if not more, on the Framingham campus. So that should count as new construction. And Angie will speak about this in a few minutes, but I just want to highlight one of the things that's resting heavy on her and she's holding is that we're really concerned about Framingham as a construction site. In addition to being loud, dirty, dusty, and sort of not livable for years, we're also deeply concerned that these buildings are toxic, and doing demolition or doing reconstruction is actually going to release harmful materials into the air or just make it even more dangerous for women to be places that they already should not be because there's pathways to release them. So another component of the plan that she's selling to the Commonwealth, she's trying to sell all of us on, is that she's going to create a rehabilitative environment, which is just outrageous to think of when we know we're talking about the Department of Correction, who has a proven track record of abuse, mismanagement, and neglect. Incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women have always, since the beginning of this campaign, so since 2019, have been leading with the message that there is no such thing as a trauma-informed prison, and there is no such thing as quality, consensual healthcare or mental health care in prison, inherently because of the deprivation and dehumanization and the control and surveillance that happens in prisons. Currently, Framingham, and the sisters will talk about this, has very little available programming. There's no degree program. And the issue is not the space, it's a lack of the agency's will to provide these things for women. And one of the sisters wrote to us like, oh, we can cook or we can sew. And that is the mentality of the Department of Corrections stuck in the 1950s or before. And we can't expect that this same Department of Corrections is going to innovate anything, because we know physical renovations won't repair the DOC culture. And as I mentioned, one of the most hurtful pieces is as if we can reimagine a prison when a prison is a prison is a prison. Prison construction is a 150-year-old idea in Massachusetts. Framingham was built in order to be able to have a separate prison for women. So nothing about this is innovative. They're pitching it as trauma-informed, as campus style. Norfolk prison is an old prison and it's a campus style prison. We are guessing, we think, because we know that members of the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security went somewhere in Europe and saw their prisons, that maybe they're trying to make a Norway type of model. We know that, first of all, predominantly white European countries have different social contexts, different social safety nets, different legacies and history. And even in those prisons, we're really grateful to our partners who have shared with us the research that incarceration causes further harm no matter where it's happening on the globe. That even in the Norway style European prisons that are uplifted as quote unquote more humane, there's higher incidence of suicide rates, there's higher incidence of mental health rates, and there's still social isolation and removal from communities and families that's detrimental to people's health. So there's nothing innovative about this plan. Before, they were pitching it as this innovative plan possibly modeled after a European prison. They were trying to model it after the Maine women's prison, which we have members inside of and who have been in and out of, and also not a place where women want to be, and not a place that's addressing the root causes of why women become entangled in the system in the first place. So here's what was missing from the plan: decarceration, releasing women who can come home, assessing who can come home, focusing on who can be released first and foremost. Parole, medical parole, elder parole, clemency, and community-based sentences are all possible. We also want to lift up that there are women in Framingham with minimum security status who could be serving their sentences in the community. They do not have to be in a prison at all. And the DOC is completely failing to give options for women who are at minimum security status. There are so many alternatives that already exist and that could exist with funding and support, like community placement, residential programs. So many people are aging in prison and just need elder care and proper health care, as well as all other options for people to be able to be held accountable while they heal and advance their life in the community through things like treatment, job training, and education. And we just want to lift up that incarcerated women themselves, and Kira, if you're willing to share this in the chat, reached out to the Healey administration to say what their actual needs and concerns were about Framingham. They expressed their opposition to prison construction, and they lifted up things like the DOC will not even hang a shower curtain that properly covers women's bodies. It has big transparent sections, so women's bodies are viewable to guards. They won't fix it. And there is a lack of a degree program and programming in general, and women have been asking to have the ability to meet in their own self-led groups like they do in some of the men's prisons, and have been denied over and over and over again, not even having the dignity of their leadership and brilliance recognized in their ability to meet with each other. So all of those things could be addressed right now without construction, and that isn't happening. So that's a little bit of context. I wanted to share, as I mentioned, that we emailed this in to Framingham. Women inside were not consulted, informed, engaged in any way. We also just sent in, shout out to Angie for doing all the labor to get all the mail stuff, but on Thursday we sent out a letter to our beloved sisters in Framingham with a survey, asking them for their feedback, their responses, their critiques, their concerns, their needs, and their demands, which no one has done except for us. So we really are waiting anxiously to hear what our sisters are asking for. We will, of course, lead with what they are asking for. This is one thing that we've gotten in the meantime, among many. I can share later. The Sisters Inside are going to talk about the sisters are going to talk about what they're hearing from women inside. But one particular person wrote to us, "This is heartbreaking. I feel like all of the governor's visits were just a sham because she already had an agenda." So women were feeling actually betrayed because she has come into the prison and talked about things directly with women, made some commitments and promises, and this wasn't part of any of those conversations. And so women are feeling like the rug is being pulled out from under them. Women are terrified of being transferred and moved around, particularly women who are already disabled and who really fear for what their life will be so destabilized to be moved around. And then several of the lifer women have written me personally to say, this just feels so painful because what it's saying to me is that I don't deserve anything besides incarceration and I'm never going to be given a second chance to come home. So our women who are serving life, who were fighting to bring home on clemency, who were in the middle of the process of applying for clemency, it is heartbreaking to imagine asking the same governor to grant clemency to women while she's proposing this $360 million women's prison. So that is some background, and I appreciate you listening to that for the context setting. In case it's new, I'm going to ask Kira to go ahead and share our statement. You can read that later if you haven't read it already. And now the most important part. I'm extremely grateful to be joined by my incredible comrades and fellow leaders, and who are going to have a panel discussion now. So I am going to introduce, first and foremost, I want to give it up to my beloved coworker, Miss Angelia Jefferson. She is the Transform Harm and Women's Participatory Defense Coordinator at Families for Justice as Healing. And beyond that, she is a leader in our movement, and she's been a leader in our movement from inside MCI-Framingham, where she served 31 years. She's also a beloved mother and grandmother to her own family, of course, but a matriarch figure in so many of our lives, bringing her brilliance and wisdom and courage, and also bringing a vision for what women need and what else is possible besides this women's prison. I'm also very blessed to introduce Shatira Thomas, who also has been a beloved member and part of FJA from the inside out. Shatira is an inspiring advocate from Brockton. She's formerly incarcerated and a woman who once struggled with substance use. She's transformed her life. Her conviction was overturned in 2016. Originally, she was sentenced to life without parole in 2010. She received a reduced sentence of 15 to life. During her 17 years at MCI-Framingham, she earned her bachelor's from Boston University when that was still available. She completed 270 hours of substance abuse education and achieved over 70 institutional program certificates. She was released in 2023. She's now in Boston, and she's dedicated to community empowerment. She hit the ground running and has been in service of her community ever since. And honestly, from behind the wall as well, of course. She serves as the Violence Intervention and Prevention Coordinator for Teen Empowerment, mentoring formerly incarcerated individuals and at-risk youth. She also leads a women's empowerment group at the Suffolk County House of Corrections, aka South Bay, bringing love to our sisters inside jail. She's a passionate advocate for prison reform. She raises awareness about substance use and the criminal justice system. Thank you so much, Shatira, for joining us. And I'm also super proud and lucky to introduce Jasmine Borges. Jasmine Borges is the Director of Organizing for the Mass Bail Fund. She is also formerly incarcerated, and since coming home has joined the fight for the liberation of all our people. She's an advocate and community organizer, and she stands on the belief and principle that all our people are deserving of freedom, love, safety, housing, meaningful employment, and peace, despite race, class, gender, and mistakes we made when we are under-resourced and misunderstood. Amen to that. And we're so lucky to have all of you all. It's my honor and privilege to organize with y'all day in and day out. So I want to kick it over to you to kind of start off with sharing any general reactions to where we are in this moment, and then thinking back to your own experiences at Framingham. So the impact of incarceration on Framingham on you and your family, and how that's shaping what you're receiving in this moment. Would anybody like to start?
I can go first. So when I introduce myself, I often say that I come from generational poverty and generational incarceration. So incarceration has been impacting me since the first time my father was incarcerated at the age of like 4. And then it didn't stop until I came home. You know what I'm saying? So four generations in my family have been impacted by incarceration. And that has led to levels of poverty, not finishing high school, depression, substance abuse, anything that you can think of has happened in my family. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I also perpetrated violence in my community. It just, there's a thing that happens when a member of your family is taken from you. You know what I'm saying? I was ripped away from my children. I was ripped away from my mother, my sisters, my other siblings, and it just devastated my family. It devastated them. Like my mom struggles with mental health to this day because of my incarceration. It impacted my sisters. They had to grow up faster and help raise my babies. Um, yeah, and then like the level of financial responsibility that I held for my family was depleted, right? So they struggled financially, and I struggled financially in prison, earning like $5 a week, right? And then to know that it's generational in my family, and not only in my family, but so many others around me, it's generational in their families. And for Maura Healey to say, oh, I'm just gonna kick $360 million to either reconstruct or make a new one or build on what's already exists, is just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It pisses me off because the system and the system actors continue to do the same thing, propose the same solutions to these problems, societal problems, right? And we're constantly saying like, we have the solutions, we know what we need, we just need to be funded, right? It's exhausting. It's exhausting, it's heartbreaking, and it's infuriating.
I can start after. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet everybody tonight. My name is Lon, and I'm pronoun she, her, and I'm with AARW based in Dorchester, Mass. I am a former MCI-Framingham. I was in there for like, I would say close to 3 years, back in 1997 to 2000, close to 2000. I was in Framingham. When I was in there, is one of this Vietnamese lady that doesn't speak English. So it just seems like the language that most of like our Southeast Asian don't have and don't understand the law that well. That's including myself, even though I came to the United States when I was a young child. But when I came to the United States, there wasn't any resource as today that we have, that we can learn things from each other. We can learn it from resources and all that stuff. So it ended up to be, most women that was in prison right now. And after I released from prison, same with you, I was tear away from my family. My child was only 3 months when I was arrested. Then for the whole 3 years, I haven't seen her until the day I released. That is something, the 3 year when I was in there, it just feel like it's done. My whole life is done, right? But then I was joining you guys in the COVID at the Rally in State House. I don't know whoever remember me, but I was there. I guess I was speaking too. Since then, I joined AARW, working as a Vietnamese organizer, helping women want to do like national way, that women who are stuck with the system, also with language barrier, with like education that they don't understand the system in the United States. That's something that I want to create. So I recently, it's been a year that I'm running a women's circle, a Vietnamese women's circle, to help women understand, uh, you know, for government that, for a man in the house that's supporting you, while government take them away from you, there's a lot of resource out there that you can go looking for help. And it's also that you can stand up for yourself, because Southeast Asian people, they just like so afraid that that they cannot speak English, so they can't even speak up. So that is the problem that we having right now. And as everybody here must has about, like, for the past 6 months, ICE been going crazy about our neighborhood, that just tearing families apart. And like, I have a very sad feeling that they gonna rip my community away.
Right.
So that is something that we are working very hard, and we try to protect our community by, holding a space, healing a space for them to, just in case anything happened to them, they have a space that they can come to. They
Lon,
have
thank you so much. We're so, so grateful to you. And really appreciate it, and want to just uplift AARW for protecting our community members. And if there's anything we can share in service of your campaign as well, please, please put it in the chat. We are gonna have time for more participation, and we're also gonna have a specific space for women like yourself who survived time at Framingham to come together just with each other. That we're gonna be organizing. So if you want to put the sign up in the chat for that, and Lon will know to just reach out to you anyway about that, to invite you into that meeting. For tonight, we're gonna have the panelists answer the questions and be able to build more with you later. Does that sound okay? Okay, awesome. And I do want to honor something super critical that Lon is raising in terms of the lifelong consequences. So our siblings at AARW are involved in massive organizing to protect our community members from deportation. FJA is currently organizing around several women who were recently released from Framingham who are also vulnerable. So we're in it together. And I want to highlight for people that Massachusetts is one of the few states whose Department of Correction has a 287G contract with the feds, which means that women from MCI-Framingham are released directly to ICE custody when they are released from prison. There is active collaboration by contract between the Massachusetts Department of Correction and ICE, not a casual heads up, a contractual relationship, which means that a $360 million prison is a $360 million investment in infrastructure that is directly connected to the Trump administration's deportation machine, period. It's not a stretch. It's a contractual relationship. So, even more reason, and I'm so grateful, Lon, that you lifted up that piece of what's going on, and I'm grateful for your experience and your decades of organizing. So thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you. Angie and Shatira, do you want to speak a little bit about your own experiences and specifically what people need to know about the Department of Correction, who supposedly is going to build this beautiful, amazing, rehabilitative environment?
Shatira, you could go. I'll go last.
It's disgusting to think about it in every sense of the word, because there's nothing beautiful about that place. Even when I think about, like, I've had to get out of the habit of saying, like, prison raised me, because it wasn't the actual prison, but the people that I was around, that we helped to, like, lean on each other to better ourselves, because we weren't always encouraged by the DOC to be better. There weren't a lot of things. Every now and then you might get, a couple of COs or staff people that, want to do better. And then it always seems like they always get ran out, or they can't deal with the hierarchy in the prison of us not getting what we really deserve. And when I think about $360 million for 200 women, I'm confused. I'm like really, really, really confused on why it would take $360 million on a structure that is just going to house 200 women. And I believe that the number will stay that low, because, the prisons aren't the reason for, recidivism going down. We are the reason for recidivism coming down. We're coming home. We're doing the right thing. We're saying we don't want to be in prison. We're saying prison isn't the right way. But what we learned in there, those of us that were strong-willed to come home and do the right work to actually, get into this process. But we're the reason why prisons are getting shut down. It has nothing to do with what the prison is doing. It has nothing to do with what the DOC may have done. I'm one of the last women, me and Angie, one of the last women to actually receive a degree in Framingham. Those programs are gone. And so when you're saying what you're going to be putting in this prison, as far as I don't care about the colors. When we're talking about trauma informed, are the CEOs going to be trauma informed? Are they going through sensitivity training? Are they understanding what it's going to be like for women to come in and possibly, experience trauma, domestic violence, going through whatever she's going through with her kids, and then I have a man come in her face telling her what to do? Like, are they going to be informed? Is money going to be put into that? Because I don't care what type of structure you put the women in. If the internal problems are still the same, it's not going to make any difference at all. And that's one thing, we learned, Jasmine and Angie are my sisters. We know what it's like to survive in that type of environment. We know what it's like to rise above. We know what it's like to elevate and say we want better for ourselves. There are a lot of our sisters that are still in there that don't have that mental capacity. There's a lot of our sisters in there that don't have that determination or that motivation or that fight anymore. They've lost hope. And what I'm really disgusted by, because I've been, there doing my 17 years, and I'll end it after this, the trauma that's going to be placed on these women during this construction of being locked in, of being, of like a lot of, one thing prison does teach us is structure and routine. And once you get your routine is your routine. And I don't care if that's waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning to be the first one into the shower, you know what I'm saying, to make sure you can be at work at 8 o'clock. Those things are crucial, you know what I'm saying, to keeping your mental up. So when we talk about them building this prison on the grounds, we're talking about women being locked in. We're talking about women having to eat in their cells with cold food, not being able to heat their food up. We're talking about them not getting the exercise that they need of enjoying just fresh air and sun. We're talking about them not getting, you know what I'm saying, to go and work. And it's not even so much like Jasmine said about the pay. It's the mental stability that we need to keep going in there. So when these things are going to be taken from the woman, or it's going to be possibly, just reformed in some shape or form, I think that's the part that's really killing me now. Thinking about what it's going to do to the mental of my sisters that's going to be going through this process, because we all know what it's like. Well, everything's shut down today, a crane's coming in. And we're talking the whole day. We're talking you're sitting in there and you're bird bathing in your shower because they keep telling you we don't know when you're going to be showering. And now you're showering at 6 o'clock at night. Everybody's trying to rush on the phones. Everybody's trying to rush in the kitchen. Everybody, it's complete pandemonium. So we went through that when we dealt with COVID. And now when I think about a 7-year build and what my sisters are possibly going to go through, I'm completely disturbed.
Hello, everyone. To echo off of what my two sisters just said, I am so confused about this whole process. And as we know, I do not like confusion. Confusion is just not in my house at all. But I am so confused right now. I just, for the life of me, do not understand. $360 million. Let's just take a minute to let that sink in. We can do so much in our communities. We can do so much with mental health, with health insurance, with housing. I have a sister right now that is struggling to find housing, and there's no way that she should be in that position. She's working 2 jobs. She's doing everything that she needs to do, but she still finds herself struggling. And all these places out here don't have the resources or the money to take care of these issues. So I feel that they should put that type of money in our communities and help our communities. The women in the inside of Framingham, I have been getting emails from the women, and it's really sad because they're scared that they're going to be moved. I remember when they did the windows in Framingham, they said everybody has to move down to the Smith building. For those that don't know what the Smith building is, it's another building on the other side of the prison. Everybody has to move to the Smith building. You'll be down there for 6 months. It turned into 3 years that we were down there, and those little cells, double bunked, with a dog, without a dog, whatever the case may be. We were down there for 3 years, and the officers treated us like it was our fault that we were down there. Then they put the windows in the wrong way, so they had to come back out and put the windows back in the right way. But I'm saying all this to say all of the confusion. That's where the women are right now. They're wicked confused. They're scared. They're scared they're going to get moved. They're scared their families aren't going to know where they are. They're scared that they're not going to get, they already don't get the health care that they need, but they're scared they're not going to get the little things that they hold on to on a daily basis anymore, because they're going to be uprooted out of their livelihood. And it really kills me that their hope is gone, because if I don't do anything, when I write back to my sisters in there, I always write back with some type of hope, just giving them hope, because for a long time, I never thought that I was going to get out of that prison. Never thought that I was going to get out. And here I am on the outside on the Zoom call trying to fight for my sisters that's on this call, my sisters that's not on the call, and my sisters behind the wall. We need to band together and stop this build of a new prison. Like my sister Shatira said, she don't give a damn about color. I don't give a damn about color either. Color isn't going to change anything for me. What's going to change for me is you demolish that whole friggin' place. Just get rid of it altogether. They are building buildings on every friggin' street corner in Boston. Take one of those buildings, put my sister in those buildings. I'll go there and work. Me, Shatira, Yamala, and Jasmine, we'll go there. We'll run that whole building. And I guarantee you, every woman in there, they will not stress. They will not worry. They will have hope. They will have any and everything that they need, because all of their confusion and trauma will be taken care of. They don't take care of you in there. I'm still dealing with trauma from when I was a child. Thank God when I came out, that's one of the things that I wanted to do, was go to therapy. Though my sisters in there, they're still having a hard time with their trauma, with their mental stability, with their health and everything else. Now, on top of all of that, they have to be worried about waking up saying, pack up your stuff, you're moving. That's something that should not be happening. I would love for us to get together and try to figure out some type of way where me and my all of my sisters, we can just get together, go to Maura Healey's office and stand there and say, listen, we are not leaving till we talk to you and get some damn answers, because it's not right what you're doing. Think about if it was someone in your family. That's the thing. They don't think about none of this. Everything is, oh, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But let something happen to someone in their family. That's when it's like, oh, well, let me call Families for Justice's hearing. Let me call Teen Empower. Let me call the Bell Fund. Let me call all these organizations to see what we can do to help my sister, my daughter, my son, whatever the case may be. No, don't call on us then. Call on us now. Talk to us now. Let us all sit together, come together. You're a woman just like us, Maura. Sit with us and talk to us, and let's try to figure out what we can do with this money instead of building a new prison. Thank you.
Sorry, my children came home from childcare unexpectedly. So, I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think that would bring me to my next question for you all, which is sort of, there are very loving, caring people that recognize that Framingham is actually a hellhole. It's very old. They're concerned about women being in there. And so when they read this plan and they're not as well connected, they might hear renovation, innovation, rehabilitation, and think that that's good. And I'm just wondering what our responses are to folks about what alternatives look like. What else we could be doing for women right now in this moment to meet women's needs, to hold women accountable, to allow women to heal and advance their life, and what we could be doing in the future. So if y'all want to share your visions around both what women need and also what alternatives look like.
Jasmine, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay.
When I think about alternatives to incarceration for women, I think about, you know, having more domestic violence centers, right, where women feel safe and comfortable and can get away from violent partners. I think about alternatives to 911, right? Like, why do we have so much policing in our communities? Why do we need the police to interfere or intervene between a dispute amongst family? Like, we don't need the police to get us through a situation. We need people to come in and help us figure out what's happening and how we can heal our situation. I think about alternatives for not even just alternatives, but also like more education, right? The more we are educated, the better we do. And as a people, as a race, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the truth. You educate people and they thrive. So why not put, you know, build more schools or get free costs to higher education? Like, why not? You know, build a scholarship, $360 million. You know how many people you could put through college with that type of money? Um, I also think about just like family reunification, right? So I talked about how like I was tore away from my family. When I came home a completely different person, and they were expecting me to be the same Jasmine. And I was completely different. So I was speaking a different language. I was you know, I mean, I was always a mother, but I hadn't mothered my children in 12 years. So like having to learn them, having to learn their language, having to learn how they communicate, you know what I'm saying? That was difficult. We need more family reunification. We need more spaces for us sisters to come home to and say, you know what? I love my children. I missed my children, but damn, they driving me crazy today. And be okay with that. And not feel guilty about it. Or have a space where we're talking about technology, right? I didn't know how to use a laptop. I didn't know how to send an email. Like, I learned all of that like within the first 6 months of coming home because I needed to. You know what I'm saying? I had to take my driver's test. Like, just having resource, like everyday things that people take advantage of, or like don't even, or not advantage of, yeah, that they take advantage of, right? Because they don't really think about it, but we have to think about it. So it's just like, so more reentry services that actually work, right? Because there's supposed to be so many reentry services now, but I applied to so many of them and didn't get any help. And I survived and thrived my reentry process because of community members. Because community members said, Jasmine, we believe in you. We're going to teach you how to drive again. We're going to take you to your driver's test. We're going to get you some state welfare. I got $12 of food stamps, whatever. I used it. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's just, there's just so much that you can do with $360 million. And right now, our sisters need more programming. They need better access to better food and health care. They need, I would say, more education, obviously. They need more money. They should be getting paid way more money to make American flags in a fucking prison. Like, are we serious right now with that? I mean, I could go on forever, but I'll stop there.
I feel my biggest thing is just having a safe place for them to go and not feeling like, oh, we just got to get up and have something at any moment. So that's what my vision looks like. Having a safe place for the women, you know, whatever case may be, just having a safe space. And in the safe space, you know, let them know, yeah, nothing in anything from you. Don't
We were having so much trouble hearing you. I'm so sorry. You're breaking up.
have to wear those blue sweaters. Can you hear me now?
A little bit. Can folks hear Angie?
Can you hear me?
Try again.
It's breaking up a little. You might have to turn off your camera.
Oh my goodness. About
No, we can hear you now.
like I said, I find it a safe space for my sister to come home to, and that way, they
Ange, I'm
can
so sorry.
decide.
We're gonna
Put
we
it
can't
into
hear you.
something like that. Like I said,
I'm gonna mute Angie now and try to have her come back on. Shatira, in the meantime, do you want to share your vision for what alternatives look like? What else we could be, what other plan we could make besides $360 million of construction?
$360 million on construction is absolutely insane. And I think about how all this money goes into, like, even the money that goes into the prison to incarcerate me there. I've had to buy everything. I'm still trying to figure out why they got all that money from me, and I had to buy my clothes, I had to buy my food, I had to buy my electronics, I had to buy everything. So you're getting all this money from me each year, but I'm still buying everything. So then also dealing with that and then coming home, our reentry has been crazy. Like, Jasmine was saying, if it wasn't for reentry services and community partners that have made a lane to helping formerly incarcerated people, I think it would have been a much more struggle for me. But it's a ripening time for people that are coming out of prison and the resources that are available to them. But what I love to see is everybody that I know is formerly incarcerated, both men and women. We are out here doing amazing freaking work. Like we're doing. It almost kind of looks like prison did what it was supposed to do for us, and as far as rehabilitation and us wanting to pay it forward and do the right thing. So when I think about what this money could be used for, like Jasmine was saying, education, me getting my bachelor's degree, it opened my mind to so many different things about who I am and what I could be doing. Because I didn't go into prison like that. I went to prison as a 22-year-old crackhead with no education, with an 8th grade education. You know what I'm saying? So, but it was me wanting to better myself. And like I said, being raised by great women that were also going to school, doing the right thing. So I think about what we could do as far as this money to show how this money could be used for people that are home now or coming home. And just, there's just so much more we could do. Like, even if they like, I'm still concerned, like confused on how it went from 50 million to $360 million. Because when I was inside Framingham, I know we were fighting against 50 million, and that was absurd. And now it's up to 360, and there's so much more that could be done, down to even helping women prepare coming home. Like, I had to come home and get my social security card, get my ID, do all of these things. All of these things should have been waiting for me when I walked out the door after giving them 17 years of my life. There's just so much more that we could be doing than building this prison. And the goal is to get everybody home. Um, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you,
I'm just,
Shatira.
I get so
No,
frustrated when I think about all this money.
it's
I really
it's totally
do. I really
understandable.
do.
I want to lift up for people. This is a $360 million planned capital investment, which means it's debt spending. We sell bonds to banks or investing companies that make a return on their investment. So that's taxpayer dollars. That's debt spending to do this project. That's on top of the Department of Correction has an almost $900 million budget that Healey is trying to increase to almost that amount. And the current operating cost at Framingham is $235,000 per woman per year. So like Shatira just mentioned, at that point, we could pay her mortgage, pay for childcare, pay for her university education, and keep her fridge full with money left over. Because I know nearly none of us are making that a year. Most families are not making that a year. So it's an astronomical amount that we could be investing in other ways. I also just want to clarify that nothing has prevented the Department of Correction from doing much needed repairs fires for any of the previous decades. It is outrageous that Framingham is not more temperature controlled than it is. And who does currently get temperature control, as Angie always teaches me, is the guards, who have plenty of access in their spaces to air conditioning, unlike women. So we are not saying don't put in air conditioning, don't fix urgently needed things, don't hang a shower curtain that covers women's bodies properly, don't repave the sidewalk where women cannot even roll in their wheelchair to get to different buildings. The Department of Corrections could have done all of this at any point, but they have chosen not to do this out of a neglect and an abandonment for the well-being of incarcerated people. So I know, folks, I want to give a chance for Jasmine, Angie, and Shatira to share our final thoughts. I just don't want folks to leave without a chance to take action. So I'm going to just remind you that we have a petition for individuals to sign. Kira's going to share that in the chat now. Please sign and share the petition. Bring it to your church, to your school, to your synagogue, to anywhere where you're gathering in community, to your organization. We are also building a coalition of organizations who want to oppose this collectively. So please, please fill out the form. Even if you're an individual, if you're an organization, if you are a medical provider, a public health professional, a social worker, let us know who you are, because there's capacity to resist from all of those places. And we have an active action ask to please call your elected officials to support the prison moratorium and express their opposition to this project to the governor. So we are phone banking and canvassing to stop the $360 million women's prison every weekend. We have events every Thursday. You can phone bank with us and talk to folks just like you about what else is possible. There was a question in the chat. We don't know what's motivating this. This process has happened completely in secret. We have done countless records requests asking for basic information and gotten very little information back about the nature of the project. We know this multi-billion-dollar architecture firm is going to make a lot of money of it. We're not sure what other incentives that there are. But I think if Healey hears from women and constituents generally that this is not a popular project, that we believe that women deserve better than more incarceration, and we expect her to actually grant second chances through clemency and other forms of relief first and foremost before building anything, that can go a long way. So I want to turn it over to our experts. We'll go Jasmine, Shatira, and then Angie. If you just want to share your final thoughts, anything that we might have missed, or from your heart, the call to action to our folks to free her and stay in the movement.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you, Mallory and FJ, for putting this on, and Angie, and just allowing me to participate tonight and be part of the movement. I guess my last remark or my reminder is that prison can never be trauma informed. It can never be housing. It can never be treatment. It is a prison. Men and women are abused on a daily, regular basis in there. Just from the very beginning, when you go in through those doors, they take your clothes off, they see your body, and you have not asked them to do that. You have not consented for them to see your body. And that happens on a regular basis. Every time a person is admitted through booking, it happens. You lose the right to your body, you lose the right to your name, you lose the right to be a human once you enter the DOC and the HOC. So we do not want a new women's prison in Massachusetts, not now, not ever. I am going to say that I want to free all of my sisters. They deserve to come home. They've done their time, and there's more ways to rehabilitate a person outside of incarceration. So I'll end there. Thank you.
Shatira, thank you so much, Jasmine. I'm always moved and inspired by you and grateful to work together. Shatira, do you want to share your final thoughts?
Yeah, just the final thought of, I know so much effort and work has been put into trying to prevent this, but, we got more work to go. I know, but we're all, up for the fight. But I think we can get something out of this. We're definitely a cut in the money. I really think that the agenda is just going to roll on through and everything. But I do want to say that you make some demands of lessening that type of budget. that some of that money, half of that money should be going to us, to what we need to be doing as far as reentry or whatever else is going to, be happening as far as our mental and our reentry and our livelihood, coming out of that traumatic situation. But I'm here for the good fight. I want to thank, you guys for putting this on and giving us a space to speak on this, especially the women that have lived it, and know what it's like firsthand, and what our sisters are going to be going through. And just thank everybody for attending tonight and being a part of this fight. And let's continue to fight together.
Hello, everyone. I always say that there's power in numbers. If all of us continue to stay together and stand together, we can move mountains together. I truly, truly believe that. Nothing is done until it's done. And we still have some time. We still have, as they call it, wiggle room, whatever the case may be. So let's put all of our brilliant minds together. Let's work together. Let's stand together with and for each other, especially for our sisters behind the wall, because they need to come home. Free her, free them all, keep them out, let them come, let them get their freedom so they can be out here on these town halls fighting for something else and not a damn so-called trauma-informed prison, because it's not going to be trauma-informed at all. I don't care what color, I don't care what technology, whatever the case may be. No, let my sisters come home, and like I said, we can do the rest.
Free
Thank you.
her, free her, free her. Thank you so much, especially to Jasmine, Shatira, and Angelia, and to all of you for joining us. And so many of you have been deeply involved in the campaign. Please, please, please fill out the form. We are going to be convening meetings. If you are a formerly incarcerated woman who did time at MCI-Framingham, the three sisters here will be coordinating an exclusive space for y'all to come together and build power and resistance. So we're going to be convening that. We're going to be convening a space for organizational partners to have a coalition to oppose specifically this project. And we're going to be having a meeting for folks to come deeper into building up people, not prisons, who may have been involved in the campaign but want to get a little bit deeper. So lots of convenings are going to be happening. More action steps are happening. And once again, I just want to share that we are the organization that informed women inside MCI-Framingham. So how good could a project possibly be if you are unwilling to even share the basic details with the people who the project is supposed to be in the name of? That is an absolute shame. So we mailed in 180 letters to women inside MCI-Framingham, 160 rather. So we think almost every sentenced woman that we communicate with, that y'all give to their canteens, these are the sisters inside. When we get their responses, we will be sharing them out and organizing from the place of their leadership. So stay tuned. Until then, the response that we have gotten from 4 hearings about the prison moratorium and to a letter from the governor, women's words themselves, we urge you to please read what women inside Framingham have already put on the record on this issue, hear their voices, and continue to organize for a freer, more dignified future for all of us in Massachusetts. Thank you so, so, so much. Free her, stay in touch, use the links. I'm going to hang out for just a second in case folks have questions in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate all y'all.
Thank everyone so much for coming.